I step into the room and the air changes without a sound. The walls hum with expectation, though no one speaks. You notice me, or think you do, while your mind searches for cues it cannot name. Every movement, every glance is quietly measured, catalogued. I place my hand on the table just slightly, barely noticeable. A small anchor, a weight that will tilt perception without anyone realizing it. The first law whispers through me. Law of small anchors. Tiny cues steer large choices. I say nothing. I do not need to. The number, the posture, the deliberate tilt of my head does the work. A single word slips into the conversation, almost as if by accident. 20. Is 20 okay? Your eyes flick to the nearest frame of reference, and in that fraction of hesitation, I see the collapse of resistance. The anchor holds. The crowd, so eager to follow, moves like clockwork, unknowingly chained to a detail I planted. You lean slightly forward, curiosity mingled with caution. I feel the pull of my own conscience. The tremor that comes when you wield influence over minds unaware. And yet the thrill is undeniable. To guide, to bend, to steer without overt force. This is the quiet art. Eyes betray the anchor before the mouth does. A pause stretches into seconds that feel like minutes. The room waits, you wait, and in that stillness, compliance takes root. A single word transforms a suggestion into a contract, an imperceptible shift that ripples through the minds surrounding me. I watch patterns emerge. People mirror posture, choose the middle option, accept the first figure offered. It is predictable, and yet it feels like magic when you see it unfold for the first time. You might call it manipulation, I call it understanding the rules others follow instinctively. Rule 1, anchor and own the scale. Set the first frame and you shape the entire debate before it begins. A twinge of guilt flickers. Power always tastes like ash before you learn to swallow it. Curiosity edges toward unease, but the quiet exhilaration, the knowledge that a subtle touch can bend the crowd, is intoxicating. I let the moment linger, letting you sense without saying the choice you did not make. You could be the one who sets anchors, or the one who drifts. The air stills, the question hangs, and the world resumes, unaware that its trajectory has been subtly altered. The anchor is cast. The pattern is planted. Now suspicion begins to grow. The first cracks in free will, the tiny tells that reveal who will bend, who will resist. And I watch patiently as the game begins. The way you cock your head tells me where your loyalty will land. A subtle tilt, a half smile, the fleeting glimmer of hesitation, all whispers of intent, unspoken, yet louder than words. I watch, cataloging, as suspicion trembles like the first ripple across a still pond. Humans crave patterns. They yearn for stories they can inhabit. I offer them one, quietly, softly, a label that fits like a glove. You're cautious, I murmur, almost under my breath. Or, you always think 3 steps ahead. The words land, and the shift begins. You straighten imperceptibly, your posture aligning to the script I have named. This is the rule of predictive labels. Once you name a pattern, people behave to fit it. It is neither prophecy nor manipulation in the crude sense. It is permission. A narrative, small and seductive, offered like a mirror, allows them to see themselves the way I suggest. And because humans hate contradiction, they adjust, calibrate, perform the version I have hinted at. I watch the signs. Repeated phrases slip from your lips, protective jokes that soften defenses, micro shifts in posture that betray your alignment. Even the smallest laugh, nervous and controlled, tells me you have adopted the label. You become proof of my observation, unaware that you have already walked the path I sketched in silence. There is a strange thrill in seeing prediction fulfilled. You comply without compulsion. The room, the moment, bends just slightly toward my understanding. Yet beneath the exhilaration, a cold realization hums. This is not innocence. It is control veiled in subtlety, yet undeniable. Suspicion is both weapon and mirror. The mask you wear, once reshaped, reflects the trajectory I intended. I note the cost. When you give someone a map of themselves, you also give them the route to your plan. They do not resist because they are unaware of the hand guiding them. And yet, a hint of admiration lingers. People are eager to be known, to be labeled, to find clarity in the chaos of their own uncertainty. Even their small resistance, a sideways glance, a pause before reply, is accounted for, catalogued, predicted. A defensive laugh, almost imperceptible, dances across your lips. The compliment fits too well. You shift your weight, straighten your shoulders, and for a moment, the person you thought you were disappears, replaced by the reflection I offered. You become the living evidence of a quiet, almost invisible power. I linger in that tension, tasting the thrill of alignment, the subtle hum of obedience, the ache of knowing how easily trust bends. The label is set. The seed of compliance is sprouted. Suspicion closes into a small, obedient performance ready for the next touch, the next nudge. Labels hold only for so long. To truly shape decisions, I must move beyond naming, toward nudging, and in the moments that follow, I will guide without seeming to, pull strings without sound. The gentle force will become irresistible and you will follow, believing it your own choice. I let the temperature of the room drop by a degree, and the answer comes easier. Not cold enough to draw comment, not warm enough to soothe, just enough for your body to feel the edge of unease. You shift slightly in your chair, searching for a position that will give you back the comfort you cannot name. This is no accident. This is scarcity and comfort gradient, the third law, the quiet squeeze. Scarcity creates urgency. Controlled discomfort guides you toward a chosen relief. You will think you chose freely, but I am only removing doors until one remains open, warm, waiting. It is not force. It is shaping desire, sculpting your need for comfort into a path I have already drawn. You glance toward the exit. The movement is small, barely perceptible, but I catch it. Your speech quickens, your eyes flick to the clock on the wall, a clock that isn't real but everyone treats as sacred. The absent authority, the deadline no one named, tightens your throat. This is the invisible hand, a false urgency that costs me nothing but costs you your ease. People move to relieve tension. They choose not for truth but for release. If I make a choice feel urgent and offer a single soft exit, you will take it to stop the unease. Scarcity works because it costs nothing to manufacture but everything to decide. I watch for rushed nods, fingers tightening, the need for reassurance rising like steam. Inside me, a calculus hums. How much pressure is ethical? How much discomfort before it becomes cruelty? Yet the thrill of precision, of control, is hard to resist. This is not brute manipulation. It is an art, the art of calibrated discomfort, the kind that leads you to my answer while believing it is your own. Someone's hand twitches toward the door, then stops. They swallow, glance again at the clock, nod quickly. Anxiety coalesces into action, relief so palpable it feels like reward spreads across their face. In that instant, the squeeze becomes a habit. Obedience feels like safety. Safety feels like gratitude. Rule 3. Manufacture the squeeze, supply the relief. Create soft pressure, a false deadline, a limited offer, a subtle subtraction. Offer the relief you want them to accept. This is not a push. It is a pull. You step into the choice I left for you and thank me for it, believing you escaped, not realizing you arrived exactly where I wanted you. I close the window of time. The group folds into a single motion, acceptance. The room exhales, a shared sigh of relief. The tension breaks like a fever, and the quiet obedience that follows tastes sweet and heavy. You think you decided? I know you chose because being wrong felt louder than being cautious. I tally the cost. Urgency bought assent, and assent became a small, durable habit. A quiet shame flickers in your eyes for choosing comfort over conviction. Yet you do not protest. Relief drowns guilt, at least for now. Pressure bends the will. Obsession cements it. This was only the pull. What comes next is deeper, slower, almost tender. The rhythm of control, laid like a heartbeat beneath your choices. I speak soft repetitions until your memory rearranges itself. Not loud, not commanding, a low current, like water carving a groove through stone. The same words, the same images, the same subtle framing. Each time you hear it, the edges round off, the resistance dulls, and a story begins to form. This is the repetition emotion loop, the fourth law. Repeated exposure paired with emotional framing does not just persuade. It rewires. I do not shout my truth into your ear. I whisper it into your moments. A glance at the right time, a story laced with longing, a phrase dropped when you are tired or laughing. Each return plants the idea deeper until it feels like memory instead of suggestion. Memory favors stories. When an idea arrives wrapped in emotion, laughter, shame, pride, desire, it lodges deeper than logic. Your mind defends it because it feels like yours. You begin to find excuses to revisit the topic, to retell the story with my slant, to correct others when their version strays from the script I gave you. Small rituals form around the idea, unnoticed but potent. You feel warmth turning to entanglement. The same words that once felt like an outside influence now feel like the voice of your own conviction. Pride begins to mask submission. You say, "I realized I felt that way," as if it were a revelation. But it is choreography, a private confession echoing the script I built, piece by piece. I watch as your identity trembles between who you were and who you've been shaped to become. The object of desire or fear that I anchored becomes more than a person or a moment. It becomes your compass. You defend choices that once surprised you. You retell the narrative to others, adding your own details but keeping my spine intact. This is the loop. Repeat, attach emotion, wait. Rule 4. Reinforce until resistance internalizes your logic. Plant repeating motifs, attach them to an emotional pulse, and let them do the work for you. No more pushing, no more pulling, only echoes. The repetition builds a private mythology, and once it lives in you, you will protect it. Sometimes someone notices and tries to pull you back. Their words slide off. You already have your explanation, your ritual, your pride. Their version of reality feels like intrusion. The truth is not that I have captured you. It's that you have begun to captivate yourself with my design. The mirror finally cracks, and the face that stares back is a stranger wearing your name. The surface fractures not with a sound, but with a silence so sharp it cuts. For the first time, you see the seams, the soft repetitions, the anchors, the labels, the squeezes. The story you thought you lived begins to look like scaffolding. Shock comes first. A memory replays itself and reveals its seam, the compliment that fit too well, the deadline that never existed, the phrase you thought you invented. Now they flicker like broken film. Recognition slides into the room and sits across from you. It doesn't smile. It waits. Inside me, a tremor begins. This is the law I rarely say out loud. Rule of reverse recognition. Awareness undoes the pattern. Transparency breaks the loop. Once you see the frame, the trick loses traction. But seeing it requires courage and the shame of realizing you've been shaped. Recognition is a weapon and a cure, and it cuts both ways. I watch you cycle through the stages. Defensive anger rises first, your shoulders tightening, your breath sharpening. Then comes sudden distance, a retreat into solitude. You dissect past choices, combing through them like a crime scene. Every glance, every word now holds double meaning. The loops unwind in your hands, but slowly, painfully, you lash out, not at me, but at yourself. Rage at being used tastes like metal. Pride turns to a bitter draft. But beneath the rage, something harder forms. A sharpened clarity, a kind of steel. This is what happens when the myth shatters. Your old self burns down, and in the ashes stands someone who sees the board. I do not run. I confess. Yes, I say softly. Anchors, labels, scarcity, loops, they were tricks. But they were also tools, and tools don't vanish when you name them. They only change hands. My voice is quiet, but the weight of my words lands like iron on your chest. You articulate the manipulation back to me, sharper than my confession, more precise than my framing. You trace each move I made, each motif, each pause. The sting belongs to both of us now. The student names the rules, and in naming them, begins to break them. Rule 5. Learn the craft to break the craft. Study the anchors, labels, squeezes, and loops. Knowledge is the antidote, the only true defense. The cold truth is simple. Know the tricks or be used by them. Nothing else stands between freedom and the quiet slavery of influence. Silence follows recognition, the loudest sound of all. You stand in it, breathing slowly, your eyes darker now, heavier. Innocence will not return. But something else arrives instead. Discipline, attention, deliberate fog. You build armor from your choices, weaving them tightly, testing every word before you accept it. The twist does not free you. It transforms you. You become more careful, more watchful, more deliberate. You are no longer the subject. You are learning the craft, even as you grieve the version of yourself that never asked to be shaped. Recognition bursts into action. The climax approaches, a confrontation, a choice, an unmasking that will cost something essential. The board is visible now, and both of us know the next move will change everything. I call everything by its true name. The room fractures like glass. What was seamless becomes shards. Each word I speak carries a weight at once concealed. Anchors, labels, scarcity, loops. The architecture of invisible control now stands exposed, trembling like a bridge under too much load. The air tastes different, metallic, as if a storm has rolled in but refused to break. You stand opposite me, eyes dark with the knowledge you clawed from the seams. The room is full but feels deserted. The witnesses are here, yet each one is already choosing a side. This is the law of visible cost. Every manipulation exacts a toll. When revealed, the cost becomes public. Push the substratum of someone's choices long enough and you alter their identity. Alter enough identities and the sum of small bends yields a break. This is that break. The debt has been called. Raised voices cut through the air. Someone smashes a glass frame, a photograph cracking under a palm, a tiny explosion signaling the end. A list burns in a wastebasket. Words once whispered now echo like accusations. You said this. You led me there. You made me believe. They recite the exact phrases I planted, but now as indictments. Each repetition a mirror turned against me. You step forward, not timid now, but taut with clarity. Your voice is steady, sharper than mine. You name the patterns, call out the tactics. The room hushes as you speak. Fury burns, then condenses into cold despair. I hear my own rules return to me like weapons. Rule 1, Rule 2, Rule 3, Rule 4. Each now a scar on someone's trust. A friendship ends in a single sentence. A lover leaves without a glance. A job dissolves with one email. The social currency I cultivated collapses in an hour. Followers become critics, their devotion flipping to disdain with surgical precision. The louder the success, the harsher the reckoning. This is Rule 6, measure gains against inevitable costs. Internally, I try to justify. I tell myself it was strategy, not cruelty. Architecture, not assault. But guilt presses against justification like a fist against a locked door. Each small maneuver, each subtle bend, now reveals its true size. Manipulation eats trust first, then time, then innocence. And innocence does not grow back. Someone throws a small object, a pen, a keychain, and the sound is thunderous in the silence. The stunned hush that follows is the loudest moment of all. Everyone recalculates what they believed. Every look in the room changes weight. You turn your face to me. It is not rage I see, but something worse, disappointment. You have become the injured and the awakened. In you, my craft meets its limit. The same techniques that shaped your path have forged your resistance. You repeat a phrase I once fed you, but now it is indictment, not assent. I stand at the center of the fracture, a catalyst who cannot step back. Fury drains from me, leaving a hollow satisfaction. Being right tastes like cold iron when everything around you crumbles. My voice tries to stay calm, but inside I mourn what manipulation consumed. Trust, time, simple innocence. The dust settles slowly. Nothing returns to its old shape. Scars remain where smoothness used to be. I catalog what I won and what I lost. The scales do not balance. There is no victory here, only aftermath. And yet in the hollow quiet, a lesson solidifies. Not just for you, but for me. There is no perfect closure. After the storm, we either learn laws or repeat the same pattern. What I say next will not be a trick, but a confession. In the final part, I will leave you with the rules. Not to use, but to survive. I walk away with the map burned in my pocket. The ash still smells like regret. My footsteps echo softer now, but each one carries the weight of 4 tricks that have etched themselves into my bones. Anchor, label, squeeze, repeat. The architecture is simple. The cost is not. The ghosts of those we shaped follow at a quiet distance, their faces blurred, their voices muted, but their absence louder than their presence ever was. They are reminders, not accusations, yet the shame burns just the same. You stand behind me, not as a victim anymore, but as someone holding a key. I've given you the map. I've shown you the seams. Whether you follow them or burn them is your choice now. I once believed mastery would protect me, that knowing how influence works would make me untouchable. But knowledge is not armor. It is a blade without a handle. It cuts whoever carries it. Appetite for mastery grows even as the desire for innocence lingers. You can't hold both in the same hand without bleeding. This is why I give you the compendium of laws, not to glorify power, but to make you conscious. Influence is a craft. Like any craft, it can heal or harm depending on the hand that wields it. Knowing the mechanics lets you opt out or opt in with conscience. Without awareness, you're only a mark waiting for the next move. You will notice anchors in headlines, labels in praise, scarcity in offers, repetition in advertising. You will feel your guard rise when you see emotional loops. That flicker of suspicion is your first defense. Awareness is the only insurance. Be the librarian of your own choices. Here they are, cold, clean, stripped of the glamour that once seduced me. Law A, always ask, who set the anchor? The first impression, the first frame, the first number. It shapes everything after. If you didn't choose it, someone chose it for you. Law B, name the label before you accept it. Any name given to you carries an agenda. Say it aloud, test it. Reject it if it doesn't fit. Law C, question the deadline that quickens your pulse. Urgency is leverage. Scarcity is a story. Ask who benefits from your haste. Law D, notice the motifs you defend as your idea. Repetition makes suggestions feel like instincts. Stop. Ask, when did I first start believing this? Meta law, awareness is the only insurance. Final rule, be the librarian of your own choices. Catalog every shelf before you let someone rearrange it. Whisper them to yourself like a spell. Test them on the next headline, the next pitch, the next compliment. Watch what unravels when you see the strings. You will feel a rush the first time an anchor fails to hold you. The first time a label slides off your skin. The first time scarcity loses its teeth. That rush is power, but it's also temptation. I remember one last example. A small victory won through these tricks. A negotiation tilted, a trust earned, a room rearranged in my favor. But the ruin that followed was larger. A friendship eroded, a life tilted off course, a piece of myself quietly removed. Influence is a ledger. Every entry carries a debit and a credit. If you don't keep count, your soul does. I don't glorify mastery anymore. I won't tell you it makes you free. Mastery gives you leverage, not freedom. Freedom comes from choosing and with full awareness where when to step in and when to step out. It comes from seeing the seduction of control and deciding consciously what price you're willing to pay. I offer you a final test. Try these laws on yourself first. Watch your own anchors, your own labels, the urgency you manufacture in your own head, the loops you run without noticing. See what breaks when you look straight at it. Then tell me what it costs. I do not promise redemption. I promise knowledge. You leave here with laws that can defend you or make you dangerous. Choose. The last sentence is both an admission and a temptation. I taught you the tricks because I was tired of being surprised. Use them to survive or refuse them to remain innocent. Either way, remember this. The most dangerous people are those who believe they were never taught to be dangerous.